More! Oh no, more! Animal-like moans emanated from the living room. The one writhing under someone's weight was my best friend. A very close friend since junior high school. This dear friend was shaking her bare white legs up and down. The ragged breathing of the man, my husband, spoke volumes about the intensity of their actions. I was infuriated. That my husband and she would do this in our house. I stepped forward, phone screen still aimed at the two of them. My friend noticed and let out a short scream. My fully naked husband sat up in shock. It was time to end our completely rotten relationship. I yelled loudly, "Don't move. My name is Anna, I'm 30 years old. I work at a trading company. I am part of the business development department. I handle tough work every day. Unfortunately, as a workaholic, I hadn't had any romantic involvement until I was 28. It was Sean, a representative from a client company, who approached me. He was a very kind and caring man, husband to my friend Maria. Hey, I have a friend from my college days who's really interesting. If it's okay with you, Anna, maybe I can introduce you next time? Actually, he seems interested in you too. That's how I met Ken. I remember thinking he seemed like a nice, bright guy with a fresh appearance. Ken worked at an advertising agency, clearly a capable and promising man. I'm Ken. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, I'm Anna. Sean showed me your photo, but you're much prettier in person. Thank you, Ken. Initially, our relationship was going very smoothly. I had fallen head over heels for my first ever boyfriend. Maria, my best friend since junior high school and Sean's wife, seemed surprised by the change in me. It's amazing how love can change someone as serious as Anna used to be. I'm surprised. Ken and I are gonna go check out some wedding venues soon. Wow! Isn't this the most fun time? Make sure you enjoy it. I didn't need Maria to tell me that. I thoroughly enjoyed choosing the wedding venue and picking out dresses. I managed to achieve my goal of getting married by the age of 30. That splendid wedding is still a fond memory, as vivid as if it were a dream. Little did I know, behind those happy days, my husband was up to no good. At that time, I had no way of knowing, nor could I have imagined it. It was about a year after we got married. Suddenly, Ken announced he was quitting his job. Needless to say, I was bewildered. He was giving up a stable job, and what was he planning to do next? Did you get an offer from somewhere? You must have something lined up, right? No? I'm starting a business with some friends. It's a venture company for app development. What? That's news to me. Well, of course it is. I'm telling you for the first time. And I have a favor to ask. Ken then asked me for financial support. He wanted to borrow about $40,000 from my savings. Apparently, the funds he and his friends had were not enough. If he needed money to start a business, there were plenty of ways to get it. He could apply for loans. I was going to refuse, saying just that, but then Ken asked me again. Please, Anna. I'm trying to raise funds in other ways too, but it's tough getting enough. That's why I'm asking you, knowing it's a lot to ask. But we need to save too. We might have kids someday, and we need to prepare for retirement starting now. Of course I understand. I'll pay it back as soon as the business takes off. So please. After he repeatedly bowed his head, I finally gave in. I lent my husband $40,000. A significant chunk of our savings was gone. But supporting his venture seemed like a duty as his partner. At the time, I even thought it was a noble thing to do. Still, why did he suddenly decide to start a business? Who came up with the idea? Who's in charge of the business? What exactly will they do in app development? When will the organization be structured, and what kind of app will they develop? I asked my husband to tell me as many specifics as possible. I really should have checked before lending the money, but can you tell me the details anyway? You have a business plan, right? Even tax filing documents would do. No, I don't have those documents. One of my partners manages all that. Then talk to that person. I am an investor, after all, right? I think I have the right to know the details about Ken and his partner's business, don't I? Yeah, you're right. I'll get the documents next time. However, the next time Ken mentioned never seemed to come. No matter how long I waited, I couldn't get the documents. It was always just a matter of waiting a little longer. After being put off over and over, I pressed him and Ken snapped. I have my own circumstances. You can't just expect me to bring out confidential information so easily. Just trust me and wait for the results. Got it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you angry. Being yelled at by Ken, who is older, honestly scared me. In the end, I was never able to see the documents. Raising his voice could intimidate me. He knew it. After that, Ken gradually began to take a more arrogant attitude towards me. At home, he would call me hey and snap at me if something didn't please him. His spending became more extravagant. There were times he would demand more money, saying it was for business discussions with his partners. Just talking about business, why do you need to spend money? Some discussions can't happen unless we're drinking. Or do you think it's okay for me, the only one in the group, to be broke? You want your husband to be embarrassed in public? Come on, no need to get so angry. Our business is definitely gonna produce great results. When it does, I'll pay you back 3 or 4 times the amount. So come on, hurry up and give it. I'm gonna be late for the meetup. That's what Ken rushed me with. Reluctantly, I lent him the money. I kept a record of how much and when I lent him money. That was about the only resistance I could muster at the time. Shadows were beginning to fall over what was supposed to be a smooth marriage. During the daytime on a weekend, I called Maria to a cafe to update her on the situation. When I told her that Ken had quit his job to start a business, Maria was astounded. Ken is quite ambitious, isn't he? I'm seeing him in a new light. Think of it as someone else's problem. The tough part is on me. I'm the one supporting the household alone. Well, don't get down about it, just keep supporting him. A husband can only take on new challenges because his wife is solidly keeping the home, right? And it's gonna be a successful business, isn't it? He says it's sure to succeed, but I really wonder. The conversation shifted to Maria's complaints. She was dissatisfied with Sean. Compared to Ken, Sean seemed uninteresting. He's too stiff, just not fun. He should take on new challenges. That's why Ken, as a man, is much better. Really? I think Sean, who lives a stable life, is more admirable. Not at all. That's a guy who can't make it anywhere. Whenever I start something new, Sean is the first one to get in the way. It really gets on my nerves. Both of Maria's parents were school teachers. She was a top student who grew up in a very strict household. But once she left her parents' home, it seemed the backlash came out. Now, she was as wayward and unrestrained as you couldn't imagine from her student days. Just recently, Maria quit her job at an architectural office and started going to beauty school. She had been interested in the beauty industry for a while and was now getting a certification. Maybe she defended Ken because he, like her, was a challenger. Due to beauty school, Maria's clothes became flashier every time we met. Even though she shouldn't have any income right now. Poor Sean. I couldn't help but think about it. One day, after work, someone was waiting for me. It was Sean. He looked serious. He said he needed just 30 minutes of my time, so I joined him in a cafe. I need to keep this a secret, but Sean sighed deeply. You know Maria started going to beauty school, right? Yeah, I heard. Didn't she say something about graduating soon? It turns out she's hardly been attending at all. What? Then what has she been doing all this time? Sean sighed again. Apparently, Maria has been hanging out instead of going to school. He was sure because he had hired a private investigator to look into it. Using a private investigator. Sean must be really troubled. I didn't want to think about what Maria might be doing instead of going to school, but I just had to know, so I hired a detective. And then Sean placed a photo face down in front of me. He told me to look at it. I gently picked up the photo and turned it over, freezing in shock at what I saw. The image was overwhelmingly shocking. It was taken by a private investigator. Sean's words seemed distant. What should I do next? I had no idea. I think the busy season and the stress had piled up. One day, I fell ill, which was rare for me. I felt feverish and had a headache. I just couldn't focus on work. And whatever I did, that incident kept crossing my mind. What should I do now? I sighed for what felt like the umpteenth time. Seeing my state, my boss kindly suggested I leave early. It's great to have such a wonderful boss. Grateful for the offer, I decided to head home. The source of my current distress was none other than my husband, Ken. As a married couple, we need to talk things through. That's what the serious part of me believes. Yet, there's another part of me that's so angry it feels trivial. I want to confront him, pin him down, and forcefully uncover the truth while shouting at him. Both feelings are genuine. Choosing the latter might very well end our marriage. Should I handle things calmly, or? Lost in thought, I trudged back to my condo. As I touched the front door, a faint unease made me freeze. I could hear muffled voices. Not the kind of sounds one should hear in the middle of the day. Someone was with someone else. I slowly turned the key and quietly opened the door. Just as I thought. The voices were coming from my and Ken's room. Apparently, the living room. I moved cautiously, careful not to make a sound on the floor. The living room door was wide open. More. Oh no, more. It was Maria, sprawled out and enjoying herself. Her bare white legs kicking up and down like an animal. Ken was the other person. Fervently moving his hips while breathing heavily. Watching them, I felt a surge of rage. After typing a quick message, I pointed my phone's screen at them. Maria noticed and let out a short scream. Ken sat up in shock. Don't move. Anna. Why? I'm on a video call. Maria, got anything to say? What? Oh. Sean. Maria turned pale. Understandably so. After all, my husband's face was on my phone's screen. I had just texted him and started the video call abruptly. The infidelity caught live had clearly shaken Sean. Maria, weren't you supposed to be at school today at this time? No, it's not like that. What do you mean it's not like that? Ken, don't you have anything to say? Sorry. What should I say? Both were at a loss for words. It's no surprise given the situation they were caught in. I ordered them to get dressed first. Being naked was just too unsightly. Disliking the stale air in the room, I opened all the doors and windows. Ken and Maria were now sitting down in front of me. Standing, I looked down at them with Sean on the phone. I came home early because I had a headache, but Ken, why are you at home during the day? What happened to starting that app development business? Did it fall through? No, it's not that. I just took the day off. Hey, Ken. Can you return the $40,000 I lent you by tomorrow? I can't trust you anymore. I can't leave my money with you. You get what I'm saying, right? Tomorrow. That's impossible, all of a sudden. Despite his business supposedly not even starting, Ken couldn't provide a reason why he couldn't repay. He mumbled a string of unclear excuses, a pathetic sight. Next, I turned my questioning gaze to Maria, who sat beside Ken, looking downhearted. Maria, what about you? Sean just asked you, right? What happened with school? Did you leave early like I did? If so, what's your reason? I might check with the school depending on your answer. Wait! I just didn't feel like going today. Mood? You decide whether or not to go to school based on your mood. Even though I'm paying your tuition? You think that kind of behavior is acceptable. Ken and Maria kept making excuses, thinking I knew nothing about it. I was so fed up. I felt foolish for ever considering forgiving them. I no longer wanted to hear any lies or evasions. I decided to settle everything right there and then. A few minutes later, Sean arrived at our place. Maria tried to approach him, apologizing. But Sean stopped her with a gesture and ordered her to sit down. Don't come any closer. Ken, Maria, I have a lot to say to you both. Sean's voice was icy, conveying just how angry he was. It's often said that the quietest people are the scariest when they get angry. Ken and Maria seemed to think so too, as tension filled the air between them. Ken, you borrowed money from Anna too, not just me? What? Ken, you borrowed from Sean too? How many people have you conned? What's the total amount? Can you even pay it back? I'll pay it back. Of course, I will. It's just that I don't see how yet. The business was halfway done. There were no profits yet, so he couldn't repay. He claimed he would start paying back little by little soon. Ken said that, but Sean shook his head. No, I want it back by tomorrow. If not, show me the business plan. No, I can't do that. There are confidentiality obligations. Again with that? You said the same when borrowing the money. Couldn't explain the details but assured me it would definitely be profitable. I trusted you and lent you the money. Sorry. I just can't pay it right now. Sean sighed deeply. He glared at Maria, who straightened her back under his gaze. Sean stared at his unfaithful wife for a moment. Maria, you owe me the tuition. Pay back everything. What? But that was an investment for me, Sean said. It was meant to be an investment. But what about you? Saying you're not in the mood to go to school and sleep with another man during the day, it's just the worst. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Maria looked down, seemingly repentant. However, Sean did not ease his pursuit. It seemed he was ready to let out everything he had been holding back. Even if you apologize, I'm not planning to forgive you. Maria, I'll be taking back all the money you wasted with the card. You're going to repay everything you spent. Got it? What? Impossible. I'm not even working. Then quit school right now and get a job. I'm not spending another cent on you. You've betrayed me. You did something absolutely unforgivable. No matter how much Maria apologized, it was useless. Sean's anger only grew. The affair between his wife and his friend had clearly impacted him deeply. Then, tears began to well up in Maria's eyes as she was pushed away. She began to cry like a child, her mouth turned down. What? It's all your fault for not paying any attention to me, isn't it? That's why I ended up doing this. Don't you get that? Reflect on it. So you're saying it's my fault? Because I'm always working and don't pay attention to you, is infidelity excused? You think you've done nothing wrong? Give me a break. I was wrong too, but aren't there parts where you weren't great either? Apologize. Then we can talk. The nerve. Fine. It's over. We're getting a divorce. Here, sign this. How prepared he was. Sean had brought the divorce papers. Pushed by him, Maria, looking angry, signed them. She seemed desperate and began to lash out. What? You're such a prude with no prospects. I'd refuse you anyway. You're just an employee with no hope of promotion. Ken is far more ambitious and impressive than you. That's true. I'm not the type to compete for promotions with others. I won't deny it. At this rate, I'll always just be an employee. But you know, I'm about to become a CEO soon. What? What do you mean? CEO? Maria and Ken were both stunned. Anyone would be suddenly hit with such news. But I had been informed by Sean beforehand. It turned out he was going to take over a company from his maternal aunt. My uncle asked me to take over the company. What? Really? Is that true? Why would I lie about it here? The business overlaps with my current work, so I'm really motivated now. I'll be a business owner. A company with an annual revenue of $40 million. Maria turned pale upon hearing the amount. It seemed she had just realized her mistake. She quickly moved to cling to Sean. It's ugly the way she grinded at his feet. It was really disgraceful. Wait. Let's pretend the divorce talk never happened. It's unfair to say that now. What's unfair? You're not interested in a plain guy with no prospects, right? Why don't you enjoy your time with Ken, the ambitious one? Wasn't that what you wanted? No, that's a lie. I was wrong. Please, don't leave me. I'll do anything. Perhaps it was the power of the $40 million word. Maria, throwing away her shame and public opinion, was desperately clinging to Sean. Sean must have anticipated this, which is why he had her sign the divorce papers beforehand. Then it was my turn. I took out the divorce papers I had prepared from my bag and showed them to Ken. It's your turn now. Sign this. Right now. Anna, are you hiding something like Sean? Not at all. What does it matter if I was hiding something? That's irrelevant. I can't trust you anymore, so I want a divorce. That's all there is to it. Let me try again, please. I promise, I'll never cheat again. Absolutely not. A redo was out of the question. Did he think I knew nothing? I had known about their relationship for months, and yet I had been struggling with it all this time. Just so you know, both Sean and I have known about your affair for months now. What? Is that true? Sean, really? And yet you acted normally. Yes, it's been tough, but it's not just my problem. Anna and I were discussing what to do about it. Then this happened. We couldn't overlook it anymore, so Sean and I decided to resolve things. We would divorce and rid ourselves of the trouble. Today, in this place, 2 marriages would come to an end. Ken and Maria both protested, but their resistance was futile. Now that it's come to this, I'll tell you everything. Ken, we also know that your so-called business plan was a complete lie. There was never a plan to start an app development company, was there? You've been spending the money you swindled on online casinos, haven't you? We've looked into it. What? That is... What? What do you mean? Weren't you going to become a CEO? It seemed Maria too had been deceived by Ken. There was no chance of getting any money back from Ken's venture. Because the business plan itself was a lie. When I found out, I was so disappointed. I thought I was foolish to believe, and it depressed me so much that it interfered with my work. Sean probably felt the same. He looked at Ken with a very cold gaze. Liar. Traitor. Good for nothing. I believed you when you said you'd become wealthy. You fool. What do you think I slept with you for? Like I care. It's your own fault for believing so easily. Ken, are you seriously saying that? That it's our fault for believing? It's hopeless. There's no saving this. No point in being defiant now. Sean was right. Being defiant now would only worsen my position. It seemed even Ken had realized that much. He straightened his posture and knelt down. I'm truly sorry for lying all this time. From now on, I'll change my ways and work honestly. I'll definitely repay the money I borrowed. Please, just don't divorce me. Me too. I'll change my ways too. Please, don't throw me away. The naivety of these two was astonishing. Thinking apologies would make everything okay. Ken and Maria didn't understand the extent of our anger. Sean and I looked at each other and sighed. We were utterly dismayed. There's no chance of repairing this relationship. And just so you know, there are hidden cameras in this room. Everything you two have been doing is recorded. What? When did you install that? Just recently. I wanted to keep a close watch on what Ken was doing and what was happening in this apartment while I was away during the day. Anna, please give me the video later. I need to secure the evidence. Of course. If it ever came to a legal battle, having evidence would make winning much easier. No matter how much Ken and Maria squirmed, they were utterly powerless against the video evidence. But the two already seemed resigned. They appeared to have lost the will to resist. I urged Ken to sign the divorce papers again. Just give up and sign the divorce papers. If you keep arguing, I'll send the video we took today to your father and mother. No! Please, not that! That would be terrible. Yes, it would be terrible. Your father and mother would be shocked to learn how you betrayed me like this. Ken was an only child, born late in his parents' lives. His parents were both in their mid-70s and living in a care facility. Imagine how they would react if they saw their son's infidelity. It could cause a stroke from the shock or worse if they fell and hit their heads. It was a bitter way to leverage, but the effect on Ken was immediate. He signed the divorce papers as I commanded. Well, I'll be leaving. I have things I want to do back home. Wait, I'll help. I'll do anything. I can be a housekeeper or whatever you need. Just please keep me by your side. No, that's not necessary. What I'm about to do is throw out all your belongings from the house. Take what you need. Anything left will be picked up by a service and disposed of. No! Wait! Please wait, Sean! Please, I'm begging you! Sean and Maria left. What I was about to do wasn't different from Sean's actions. It's time to clear out the past. I need to get rid of everything unnecessary from this apartment. I'm going to the lawyer's office to file the divorce papers. You pack your things and move out. Let me know where you end up. I'll send the rest of your stuff COD. Anna, is it really over? Can't we start over? Absolutely not. Honestly, I never want to see your face again. Understand? If you're still here when I get back, I'll send the recorded video to your parents. Wait! Please, Anna, I'm really sorry. So what? I've reached my limit. Make sure to leave the spare key in the mailbox. If it's not there, I'll send you the picture immediately, so be prepared for that. Ken came back and apologized again. But that wasn't enough for forgiveness. I wish I could tell him to at least pay back the money he owes first. I left him there in his half-desperate state and walked out of the room. After submitting the divorce papers at City Hall, I killed some time at a cafe. I spent about an hour pondering my next steps before returning to the condo. Apparently, the thought of his parents seeing the video of his infidelity was too much for him. Ken was not in the room when I got back. Sean found out that Ken had borrowed money from 6 other people besides us. It seems he initially intended to start a business, but it failed and he gave up. One person had even invested $100,000. He was unscrupulous in trying to recover the money. Ken, who was hiding at a friend's house, was eventually found by men hired by the creditors. It's a ridiculous story, but when he was caught, Ken was penniless. Despite having collected nearly $300,000, he had squandered it all. Online casinos. It seems he gambled everything away, hoping for a big win next time. After that, Ken was forced to work under the surveillance of his creditors. He must live a restricted life until his debts are paid off. According to Sean, who keeps in touch with the creditors, Ken is now just skin and bones. He must work hard without being able to eat properly, right? He's become so skinny, you wouldn't recognize him. Well, he brought it upon himself, right? Yes. What about Maria? What happened to her after that? She was resisting a lot. Yeah, she resisted fiercely. But in the end, she reluctantly followed what I said. She's ended up living a wretched life, just like Ken. Maria had most of her belongings taken away by Sean. Designer clothes, shoes, bags, valuables, everyday items, everything. If Maria had had any savings, it might have been a different story, but she didn't. Sean, despite her protests, took control and sold her possessions for cash. He even made her quit the beauty school and took away her family credit card and everything else. Left with nothing but the clothes on her back, Maria eventually drifted to Kyushu. There, she started working nights and, stressed out, fell into drinking, accumulating a massive debt. But that's a story for a bit later. The divorce turmoil brought Sean and me closer than ever before. I found that we really clicked. Both understand each other's emotional scars well. Initially, neither of us spoke of it, but we both sensed the mutual feelings. Later, we officially started dating and remarried 6 months later. Unexpectedly, I found myself in the position of a company CEO's wife. I love my job and have no intention of quitting, but I know I could stop any time and still be secure. The emotional scars Ken and Maria left aren't fully healed. I think there will always be moments when memories of that time make me feel awful. But even when such times come, I know Sean will always be by my side. With him there, there's nothing to fear. That's what I believe these days.